In some cases, steroids are therapeutic.
Not dangerous.
Most guys at the gym, if you go into the gym, you're not using a therapeutic, or you're not using because, oh, your test is low. You're using it to be I just want to be an asshole at the gym.
So taking steroids makes you an asshole.
Proudest moment, just the physique that I've built over the years.
When people come up to me and tell me like, yo, I see from your videos.
One of my proudest moments is actually winning 3 gold medals at the Natural Olympia.
Coolest thing I ever did in the gym was bench 415.
Winning Muscle Mania Universe was, my most prestigious bodybuilding accolade.
Proudest moment was when I got my pro card.
The proudest thing was yesterday. I hopped off stage for the first time competing after just 3 years of training. Won a few shows, got 7 medals in total.
My best memory, I could say I did something called the Strength Camp Challenge.
My best accomplishment, obviously, getting an IFBB pro card.
Proudest moment, having a mid-low physique to having a physique that I've always wanted.
My name is Eric Janicki. You guys might remember me from the Fit Men versus Fat Men episode, but today I am back as a moderator, and today's topic is natural versus steroids. Step forward if you agree. Steroids are dangerous and should not be normalized in fitness.
So for me, I am a natural bodybuilder, and I don't really like it when I see guys that take steroids and then they call themselves natural and they compete in the natural organization. So for that reason, I basically feel like they're cheating. So I don't really think that they should normalize it. Once you normalize it, then it gives guys a reason to take those steroids and then come and compete in an organization that they shouldn't be competing.
So to clarify, you're saying that it's actually getting more normalized by people that are fake naturals, that are saying
Correct.
that they're natural, but they're actually not. So you think that's actually the biggest part of the problem?
That's one of the big problems, correct?
I think steroid culture is ultimately what is corrupting the industry more than anything else. The first side of the question is addressing that it's dangerous, and there are many health risks that I feel as though they're not spoken about enough, and that is one of the biggest problems. And we can go down a list of like cardiovascular issues, liver damage, skin and hair changing, heart problems, ultimately death if you go far enough down the rabbit hole. Just recently we had credible, like highly respected bodybuilders in the industry drop dead. Cedric McMillan, Sean Roden, Dallas, George Peterson, and all of these gents were mid to late 30s and early 40s. And if that doesn't tell you what you need to know, then you are blind and you're driven by ego.
And another side I don't think it talked about a lot is the mental issues, like the psychological aspects of roid rage, anxiety,
mood swings,
paranoia. And that's something that if they don't die from like you said, a physical cause, you're living with this being on edge all the time and your escalated moods, and that's something you don't want to deal with.
So the reason that I stepped forward is because steroids are dangerous. And I don't think there's really anyone that can really argue against that. But that's the reason why I host my own podcast, is the purpose of me being open about the fact that I use them and that I'm in a sport that utilizes them, is because there's a lot of information that people do not know about this. It's like, sometimes it feels like its own university class. I think it's very easy for anyone to just jump in and start it without knowing a thing about it. So it's hard for me to say about like whether or not I'm technically normalizing it or not. But I agree it's dangerous, and I mean, you should be informed. You shouldn't just take something that you don't know anything about.
100%, I totally agree. I feel like fitness for me, it's more about something, that you want to do to get better, to feel better, to look better, of course. And I feel like the fact that it's getting normalized now, it defeats the whole purpose of fitness, in my opinion.
I remember when I was a kid, growing up, I played football, ran track, baseball, the whole nine. I'm from South Florida, very competitive state, and we used to joke and say, I'm gonna even do protein shakes. That's how much it stigmatized that we thought protein was
the key. Yeah.
No, we thought it was juicing. Like we literally was ignorant to the fact that like
for me it was creatine.
Creatine too. So I would drink a protein shake. My friends like, bruh, you're not natural? And this is like 16, 17, so we were not that young, but we're ignorant to it. And that was, I'm 36, so that was like 2003 to 2005.
Yeah.
And going to the point of it's more normalized, I feel like I've met kids who are 18, 19 who haven't even finished puberty.
Younger.
Right.
So it's like one thing to use it, that is what it is, but it's like you haven't even finished growing yet.
And that is the problem. When you normalize steroids, then the young kids are going to start taking it also. And then, you know, those are the ones that are going to be dying quick, right? I mean, people don't talk about that. They just talk about, oh, you look good, you know, you're going to get buff. Sure, but there's a lot of implications to it.
Based on what you guys are saying, do you think that there's an age where it's more or less appropriate, or do you think it's across the board?
At least 5 to 10 years, you got to give yourself a real training as a natural.
Yeah.
You know, if you even think about that. But I would just say don't do it anyway.
So my opinion is that the use of steroids for visual appeal or physical alteration, the visual aesthetic across the board should not be normalized. I don't think that's good at all. There are times when you get later in your age when your hormonal levels start to decrease. And there are times when people will take testosterone or whatever chemical, whatever substance that they need to get their levels back to normal so that they can feel better in day-to-day life. That's the only time when in my opinion, when I feel it is appropriate. But outside of that, if you're using steroids to look better, to get shredded, to alter your physical appearance, no.
All right, can the disagreeers come and step forward?
All right, so I think you guys have a misconception of steroid use, and then you guys have a wrong grasp of steroid abuse. So a lot of what you guys were talking about is steroid abuse. Like all the people you named who died and were very young or whatever, were abusing steroids. And I didn't step forward fully because I can't get that. Steroids are definitely dangerous. I wouldn't tell people to do it or not to do it or whatever. I wouldn't bring it upon people, but I couldn't get down with the whole thing.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's the verbiage that a lot of people that use steroids use, which is totally understandable. But that's the thing is communication is difficult sometimes. People use verbiage in a different way. So a lot of people will say any steroid use is steroid abuse.
Right.
That's the problem. But if you're most of the time, only the people that are in the bodybuilding industry who literally spend day in and day out studying this for themselves and for whoever else they're dealing with, if the coaches or their athletes themselves, understand that you can stay alive, you can be
For sure.
risk averse taking it.
So I think everybody's reading beyond what this question is. Steroids are dangerous. What's a steroid? How is it dangerous? In what application? If you look at the testosterone level of a 20-year-old now, it is at the same level as the testosterone level of a 7-year-old in the 1970s. We have a low testosterone epidemic. Most men over the age of 30 have female level testosterone. Testosterone being low is more dangerous than having your levels normalized via TRT. So looking at that question, you're thinking about somebody going and just jamming grams of test in their delt every day.
It's dangerous.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Too much water is dangerous, right? We all agree you could die from too much water. So by saying that steroids are dangerous, what about you have an inflammation attack, prednisone? Is that dangerous?
Too much McDonald's is dangerous.
So-
Sure, but that's not necessarily used to
So
get
in the fitness
aesthetic,
world,
to become aesthetic, right?
Well, the question
And
was
most
not
guys that
addressing
are at the
aesthetic.
gym that I see-
The question was broad. Are steroids bad? And that's the problem with the natty camp. You guys vilify all steroid use when it's therapeutic. AIDS patients, should they be allowed to use steroids?
I'm a natural. I'm a natural athlete, despite what everyone thinks. and
Nah,
says.
I'm calling you out.
Whatever, dude.
You, Michael Hearn, see me at Panda Hall.
Whatever, man. listen.
Once you get tattoos,
Bro,
you're not
there's
that.
a level you can't reach naturally. There's a level you can't reach naturally.
You're absolutely correct.
Everybody knows it. And I love bodybuilding. And I love the image of the golden era. Everyone knows that. Because it's something that's untouchable, right? It's a physique that you can't buy.
No.
And that's the only thing that you can get there is by enhancing yourself. Let's keep it real.
But the question was not about that.
But the question wasn't about that. But I think
about
that it's
steroids.
very subjective. It's very opinionated because we all have our individual
So would you all agree?
experiences with
Would
it.
you all agree that in some cases, steroids are
Are
therapeutic?
not dangerous.
Yeah, if it's medical
But I mean,
use.
If you're using it for medical use, correct.
mentioned
But
people-
Well, what's a
most
medical
guys at the gym, if you go into the gym, you're not using a therapeutic, or you're not using it because, oh, your test is low. You're using it to be I just want to be an asshole at the gym. You know what I mean?
So taking steroids makes you an asshole.
No, I don't think that. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, most guys use it for that
I don't
reason.
appreciate you calling my friend an asshole. Okay, that was
I'm not calling
Oh,
him an asshole.
kind of, maybe it's the test levels, dude. Maybe guys on gear are f***ing warriors, and the guys who are natural, we have low tests. Like,
No, my test naturally is 957 nanograms per deciliter.
well, I don't think I have low test either. But if they feel that way, because look at them how they work out, bro. Intense, and they're making gains.
People on steroids?
Yes.
Of course.
Realize why they developed steroids,
Sure.
right? It wasn't get jacked. In fact, in the 1980s,
Sure, but
they
if
were
I'm
telling
taking
us that steroids don't cause muscle gain. That was the government's official message. So steroids, when taken in excess, like anything else, can be very dangerous,
Which
right?
that's the problem.
But the problem is, and this is probably something down the
but you don't
line.
blame the drug,
The
but you
problem
blame
is when the fitness industry takes something and they amplify it. I think that's what you guys are arguing. That the young fitness influencers who are promoting copious drug use to get to their goals, making millions of dollars on YouTube, it's going to get a lot of kids to do it as well.
Here's the thing, just because something's dangerous, like abusing steroids dangerous, that doesn't mean we shouldn't normalize it. Like, you guys are saying we shouldn't normalize steroids, it's bad, but you're also watching the Olympia. Those are the people that blast grams of gear. Like, things that are awesome, entertaining, are dangerous. UFC, dangerous. NFL, dangerous. You guys all watch the NFL. It's Sunday, you're probably pissed you missed the last game. Even though more people in the NFL are dying trying to get there, more kids are dying trying to get there than there are people that are the kids abusing steroids. So just because it's dangerous doesn't mean it's bad to put out on the world, just because, you know, we're humans. We want exciting, entertaining stuff. And nobody's denying that it's dangerous, but we can still enjoy how insane it is. To look at a motherfucker like this, it's like, that's incredible.
I have children. I have children of that age. How do you get them not to get jacked? And yes, young people on testosterone, it is messing you up. Like, you're in an age where you're developing, teenagers, they become infertile. There's a lot of bad things that can happen. So the key is, by discussing it like y'all do, we're able to go and say, oh, here's the negatives from it. So as long as they're being fair and balanced with, I'm doing this, but I know I'm also doing this negative thing, I think we're in a good spot.
Well, there's also on the cigarette pack, it says you can die, but people still smoke. So in the end, people just make their own choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That gives,
Which is, there's no problem if you're making your own
that
choice.
argues our point, no?
But there is a problem if you're teaching other people that it's okay, right?
Well,
When
but steroids-
Camel used to smoke, they had cowboys and they were smoking like, hey, look at me, I'm cool. Well, every kid wants to be like that, right? So you're kind of deceiving the kids.
Well, you're not deceiving them, because cigarettes and steroids are dope. Like, you're out here getting jacked. To be in the NFL, you gotta be on steroids, which is dope. Being jacked, dope. Smoking darts, dope. It's all dope. Why are we pretending like it's not dope? Everyone knows it's not healthy, but why are we not talking enough about, like, wow, that is a really fun, cool thing that changes life for the better. Even though I know it's unhealthy, everyone's hammering the unhealthy. A good cigarette and some coffee, that's awesome.
Well, first of all, I don't have a problem with guys that choose to do steroids or not, right? That's their own choice. I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that when you say that that's cool, he's saying, you know, like, oh, that's cool, that makes you badass. Every kid wants to be a badass. And they don't realize, they don't have enough time for them to understand the implications that happen, right?
But
All
saying
the
it's
debt.
cool is not necessarily promoting it.
What's happening?
Saying it's cool is not necessarily promoting it.
Well, we say that.
It is
but
promoting it?
is
Well, it's
it?
like, I like what I like. They can watch
I-
you and be natural, and you say that's cool. I like what I like. I'm just gonna talk about what I enjoy.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I get it. But I think when you're young, most of the kids can make their own decisions, right? Like you and I can make. We're older, we can understand this. And you've been through it, so that's the reason we can speak.
But that's
from
the
that.
game, is you have to grow up and make your own decisions. We can't be feeding them decisions, or you see what I'm saying?
I got a question for you, you guys. Have you guys ever thought about hopping on? Like, ever?
I have.
Okay, so
I haven't yet.
you haven't yet. You never thought about it, have you?
I haven't because of the health reasons. That's it.
That's the number one thing you
That's
just
number
shut it
one.
out of your brain.
That's just my personal reason. Doesn't
Okay,
matter.
now why did you think about doing it? I'm curious.
So the reason I thought about taking steroids is because of seeing as though I look like this natural, and I've been able to be successful in the sport up to this point. I'm Mr. Universe in the Muscle Mania, which is a natural bodybuilding federation, and that's a pretty prestigious title just in bodybuilding overall. With it being that I look like this natural, I've been training for 14 years. I know that if I were to take steroids, I would more than likely like blow up. I would end up just capitalizing on my physique, my genetic potential, I would look just more
That's the reason why I think that
More
there is a
freakish.
reason why people should hop on. Is because people like you and people like me have thought this shit out for a long time. We know what the potential is. I'm saying if we ever wanted to take it to that level, bro, you know what it takes.
I know what it takes, but just like him, I refrained because of the health reasons. Because
And
I'm
that's a
thinking
personal
about,
choice.
It is a personal choice. Yeah.
The thing is, there's a lot of like health repercussions, but it's a whole nother job.
Could go the other
When
way
you-
around, though.
When you go into bodybuilding and you decide to go that route, there's going to be a whole list of things that you need to learn and take care of when you're doing this, you know? And it's going to be a lot of money too, like a ton, you know?
add years
Especially if
onto
you
your
care
life.
about your longevity. And a lot of pro Olympians and bodybuilders will say too, good blood work builds muscle in a way. So basically, like, an unhealthy body is an unresponsive body. So the more you just like just eat Anadrol every fucking day, sooner or later your body might not be growing as well. And that's like one simple surface level thing that you have to think about, but add that on top of all the other things you need to think about to make sure that you're going to not die of a heart attack by age 40.
Natural bodybuilding is the only honest form of bodybuilding. Agreeers, please step forward.
It's the only real, honest, authentic form of bodybuilding because you were going with nothing outside of what you could achieve by natural means. And when you involve steroids or any kind of enhancement drug, you are now stepping outside of what you could achieve naturally. It's not really much more that needs to be said. I think it's just that plain and simple.
Genetics play a huge role in the sport of bodybuilding. Do I agree that a lot of people that are blasting gear right now should be blasting gear based off of their genetic buildup? No. I don't think that a lot of people who have the potential to win. I don't. But if we were to delete all steroid use and just we all have one genetic buildup, one that God gave us, or we have the food that grows on the earth that we all eat, why can't we just take what is given to us and see what we can make out of it? But I just feel like human beings always have to take it to the next step.
All right, disagreeers, please step forward.
What is natural bodybuilding? You take a polygraph test. You have to be natural for 7 years. So we know from recent data that steroid use lasts. It makes you pretty much more awesome for life. So what is natural? So that means that all natural organizations, the WMBF, the OCB, all those things, they're not honest because all of them have this 7-year thing. There is no natural bodybuilding organization. And honestly, no one would watch it. There's a natural Mr. Olympia. Nobody knows about it. I didn't even know there was.
This weekend, actually.
It was?
I was there.
Damn. See?
just came from
I'm literally an IFBB
Of
pro.
course.
I had no idea
I
that
get
was
it.
this week.
Yes, natural Olympics.
But we all
That
know
was
when the
this
Olympia was. We all know when the Arnold's going to be. We all put it on our
Well, I
calendar.
know when
People
Natural Olympics.
want to see, the people want to see the big freaks. But the
Well, I
bottom
think
line
that
is,
there's a difference between what people want to see and also what's good, right? Well, what's healthy, what's the right
said
thing.
honest.
There's
So-
the, there's the right thing and
is
there's
natural bodybuilding
I
healthy?
said honest.
Is
well,
getting
natural
down-
bodybuilding to a certain degree is not.
Is
correct?
getting
of
down.
course.
Look, I
But
will
I
argue.
think natural bodybuilding is not as unhealthy as taking drugs.
Okay, so getting yourself down to 5% body fat, where your testosterone plummets
Sure.
to the single digits, that's healthy?
Sure, no, that's not healthy.
Do you
but-
realize a lot of female competitors in natural organizations have issues getting pregnant later in life because they tank their hormones?
Sure, people eating,
So
McDonald's
there
just as
is
bad,
no
right?
healthy bodybuilding. To compete at a level that doesn't look like shit, to look amazing like that guy, you're gonna be unhealthy. And I will argue that having stable hormone levels is as, if not more healthy than having tanked hormone levels from being natural.
If you are enhanced and you're honest about it, does that make it still not an honest form of bodybuilding since there's these tools at people's disposal and they're being honest about utilizing those
Sure,
tools?
as long as they're competing on the other side, right?
Yeah. So if he's telling someone what he's taking to get ready for a show, that's honest.
Well, that's honest.
Well, everybody's honest because everybody in
Sure,
IFBB is on
as long as
drugs.
you say it, right?
Yeah.
The
Everybody.
problem is a lot of guys that do take steroids, they say they're natty. That's the other
Yeah.
problem,
I
right?
think
That's
that-
the only problem.
Oh,
that-
I think we all have a problem
yeah,
with
that's a
that.
big problem with that.
The body positivity movement has gone too far. Would the agreeers please step forward?
Like, I'm all for confidence, someone being confident in themselves and the way they look and being happy with who they are and, you know, what they got going on. But it gets to a point where, like, the unhealthiness shouldn't be something that you are proud of. I think that's really not the way we should go about getting the message out, because there's a difference between healthiness, what is considered healthy, what is considered fit, and what is unhealthy, what is unfit.
So what's the number one comorbidity? Obesity. We should not celebrate fatness. We should shun fat people. We should help them lose weight. We should tell them that is not good. To celebrate something that will inevitably lead to them dying, that is something we should not celebrate. We need to be helping these people lose weight by not glorifying being fat, by not glorifying being gluttonous, by not glorifying being lazy. Also, being fat makes you stupid. Your brain will not operate as well because your oxygenation to your brain will be lowered. There is nothing good from being overweight and fat. We should not glorify things that are going to kill people.
That's right.
I talk on my social media platforms. I've been fat. I was fat for like 20 years of my life, and I've been fit, and fit is better every single time, no matter what.
Can I have all the disagreeers step forward as well, please?
Sitting next to Milligan.
All right, who'd like to speak first on the disagreeers?
Oh, I got something here. I think you guys are so concerned about what other people are doing with their bodies. Like, your definition of happiness is not the same as theirs. Let them be happy being fat as shit. We could have a cocaine positive movement, because if you're happy ripping a ton of cocaine, even though it's not necessarily healthy, as long as they're happy, let them do it. Do what makes you happy, which is being fit and healthy, but it's not up to you.
Do you pay
to
taxes?
Say. I do pay taxes.
Do you know how much obesity contributes to our national debt a year?
I'm not so
Trillions of
concerned
dollars.
about the entire.
So you want to see people
America's
die.
such a great country. I'm gonna pay my taxes happy and not be feeding to fat people with my taxes, because there's so many layers to paying taxes that getting angry about it feeding the fat people is not something that I should be concerning myself with.
Body positivity.
Yes.
Is that necessarily fatness, though?
Yes.
It became it.
Everything.
Yes.
Just
It wasn't
being
a
fat.
It's like
And is it
90%.
skinny people
thought it was
hyping up
for-
fat people, or is it fat people hyping up fat people?
Fat people having a fat people.
Yeah.
People, yeah.
I want to get
And
fat.
people
checked.
will disagree, and we might get heat for this, but
I
that's the
literally
truth.
don't. I've never heard.
Yeah,
I've never
that's
even
the truth.
been in that realm of body positivity.
They're trying to say, like, yeah,
might
being
get-
fat is okay. It's not.
I didn't know that
They had
existed.
this obese lady on Cosmo, and it said, "This is the new fit," and the chick was just, built like Patrick from SpongeBob, right? Just sloppy fat. That's not the new fit. We can't redefine the word fit.
But like, I agree though. Like, I just feel like maybe where social media has made us just so involved in other people's lives, like too much so.
In the 70s, if you took a picture of any park or beach, everybody was fit. Now you take a picture, everybody looks like they're beached on the beach. They're literally beached whales right there. So there's something systemic that's going on in society we need to figure out. We need to help these people live better lives. It'll lead to a more productive
Well,
society.
why don't we have more healthy restaurants other than McDonald's every block? You know, it's almost like things are.
It's consumer driven.
I have the society viewpoint as well. It's not a personal attack that we're aiming at everyone individually and being like, you should feel like shit because you're not fit. We're aiming at like, okay, how can the world, America, function better? Everyone should want to prioritize fitness. That's just plain and simple. And those people who are allowing themselves to become overweight and obese and medically obese and just fat and out of shape, that should not be glorified. It shouldn't be pushed to the media as something that is acceptable.
Well, I mean, every one of us here is a fitness influencer. Like, I guess we can all agree in that sense that we're going out and saying you should be fit. But I mean, I'm a fitness influencer, and it's like I promote taking steroids. So it's like I'm really just saying is make up your own mind instead of looking at the magazine or going to McDonald's. So there's healthy options out there. You don't have to go to McDonald's, even though you see it in a magazine or you see me taking steroids or they see you being healthy. It's not our job to make sure that they're doing, like you're trying to say we should herd people into being, like living your lifestyle.
I think the most important thing is still education, always. But I mean, this realm, there's a lot of education there. There already has been. But I think when I didn't step forward, I thought of a lot of individuals that promoted being fat. but I didn't really know the things that he talked about, where like very important and strong voices were changing the word fit or changing what it means. I didn't really.
But I mean, if you go to the doctor and you're fat as shit, no doctor in America is gonna be like, you're good. It's within
Nah,
this
they
system.
are,
the health-
bro.
No, the doctors are
there's
fat.
no
Doctors
fucking
are fat,
way,
that's
bro.
right.
If
Nah,
you're
they are, bro.
morbidly
Make
obese,
America
you go to the
healthy
doctor,
again.
bro.
They're gonna tell you're fat. In health class, 7th grade, I'm sitting in health class, and they're telling me fat is not healthy. I don't see exactly what
They
you guys
don't
are
do it
seeing,
anymore
bro.
because the kids get triggered.
I
These
was
kids are
just
soft.
in school like
they'd rather
4
avoid the
years
subject.
ago, dude. It's like
what
I'm
it is.
22 years old. I was in college. They're telling me it's not healthy. I go to the doctor. They tell me it's not healthy. I don't see exactly what you guys are saying. Just because one magazine says it's okay to be fat as shit doesn't mean that's this massive epidemic that we need to fix.
As soon as Ozempic came out, everybody lost like 150 pounds. So it was just a cope with their lack of actual willpower to lose the weight. As soon as they got an injection that can make them lose weight, what are they doing? Everybody's on Ozempic.
Most of us have some influence to some degree. I don't have millions of followers, but there's people watch me. I taught college class called Total Wellness and Exercise Physiology for years, and I've talked to these people, and they don't know this stuff, and that's why it's so easy for people to think, oh, I don't need to do it, because like you mentioned, education is a big part. So we got to teach them or at least show them. So obviously you don't have to worry about their lives or if they die or not. That's not what we're trying to say, I don't think, right? No one's saying
No.
you gotta be mad if, oh my gosh, you're overweight. It's more so like, if you have a platform and you can influence these people to some degree, have some value to that.
But dude, I'm saying this, I was just in school and they were preaching the idea that being fat is not healthy. They know, but looking at a fat person and be like, you are like making them feel like shit because they're fat, that's not productive.
Steroid use leads to unrealistic standards. Would the agreeers please step forward?
I was probably here not too long ago when I was competing in some shows, natural. When Men's Physique came out, like what, 2012, 2013 or something, I was like, wow, dude, I've always wanted to be Olympia, but I'm never gonna get that big because I don't want to take steroids, I'm scared of needles, all these things. My parents would fucking disown me. And then I competed in the shows and thinking like, oh, Men's Physique is out, I can definitely, maybe I can make it there naturally. Competed at nationals like 3 times and I got 16th plus place. And they don't place anywhere after 16th. So I was just like, damn, I fucking suck.
Been there, my brother.
Yeah. And then I was with the coach at the time, and I know this is something that's, I think there are a lot of coaches out there that care about the health of their athletes and their individuals, but there's also those who just care about their athletes being first place. And my coach at the time was saying, if you want to do well, you got to take some shit, bro. And I would keep denying him, like 5 shows, then the last 3 national shows, I just kept denying him, and then he kept pressing things, and he's like, take these aromatase inhibitors. They're going to dry you out. And I'm like, well, bro, I'm getting 16 plus place, I'm never gonna get my pro card. It's not a steroid, right? So I can take it. And this is kind of part of the reason why I feel like one of my biggest purposes in life right now is to just educate as much as I can, at least with whatever information I have, whatever information that other people have that are experienced, is because like, I didn't know anything about gear, and I took aromatase inhibitors as a natural, because it would make me drier on stage, bro. And that shit me up, man. And long story short, there was a lot of other things that happened, but I basically picked myself up long term. And at one point I was like depressed for a year, and my female friends were telling me I should probably look into my mental health. I'm like, it's not my fucking mental health, man. Like my hormones, something's fucked up and I don't know what it is. So I just think the standards, as epic as bodybuilders are nowadays, as much as I love the golden era, like the standards aren't realistic for people that are natural and that want to stay natural.
Whether we like it or not, this shit is going mainstream with steroids, and these kids are f***ing themselves up real bad, and I've seen too many cases of it. So I think the more of us that come out and talk about how to do it correctly and how to mitigate sides and risks and do it the right way, I think that's gonna be best for our society moving forward.
You mentioned mental health, and this is something like, I know you guys talked about a little bit, but going into the point of like disorders, like we talk about body dysmorphic disorder, not saying someone on steroids gets that just because they want to get bigger, but there's a level that someone gets to where they look in the mirror and they think then they get bigger and get bigger. I think they nicknamed it like manorexia because it obviously affects men way more than women when it comes to getting bigger, when it comes to body dysmorphic disorder. And that's associated with like OCD. You have a obsession. I got to get bigger. I look in the mirror. Now I got to run more, burn my cardio. Now I got to lift more. I got to do whatever. Not even just with steroids, but in the general of like getting to that level. And that develops all these habits. So going back to standards or expectations is like now we get to a point where our mind isn't right, and then that just couples with the physical point, and it's just a revolving door almost.
Do you think that, and I'll kind of direct this towards the natural side, do you think that more of the openness has now actually helped, let's say, natural lifters like yourself to feel like, okay, like I have actually achieved almost what would be the pinnacle for my age based on the fact that now I know like everybody on that side at whatever age is now enhanced?
I feel like
I'd like to hear from
the
that person.
genetics are really what's going to make a difference, right? He's natural, I'm natural, we look different, right? So I can't really expect to look like him. I think some people really misunderstand that. The genetics have a lot to do with it, right? So I'm never going to look like him. He's not going to look like me, vice versa, right? So all four of us are natural, but we look different. So we probably don't have education enough about understanding that genetics are going to take a big role, right, on how you're going to look, no matter if you're taking steroids or if you're natural.
I'm not God, I don't know everything, obviously. I probably don't even know much. But what I do feel is that back in the day, I think maybe we had the perception that people like maybe Michael Hoang or people that are like really massive and jacked and like maybe on the Olympia stage could potentially be natural. Nowadays, I think it's kind of, I feel like it has flown in the other direction, and I want to believe in the potential of a human body. Like, I think Josh has an insane physique. Like, I want arms like this guy, and I want to believe that that's naturally achievable.
But he's 1 in a million.
Yeah, that could be a 1 in a million, but still, it doesn't change my
closer
point.
to 1 in a billion.
It doesn't change my
Yeah.
that doesn't change my point that it is a big controversy on whether or not Josh is natural. Like, that's a common thing. You see it in his comments all the time. I feel like half the people don't believe him. But I think that part of the reason is because now it's skewed in the other direction where we don't believe, where a lot of people who are witnessing social media in the fitness space believe everyone's a fake natty sometimes.
Yes.
And I think that sucks because that ruins the hope of a lot of people or kids that want to become better.
Yeah, and
I
to
think
speak on
that's
kids,
rough.
it is a problem. I own a youth performance facility. All these kids expect to put on like 40 pounds in 2 months.
Right.
Then you have to bring them down to reality. Like, you're not going to do what these guys do because you're an athlete and you're going to be tested. And honestly, you don't need to take it. You're a teenager. Right. So the problem is they see these unrealistic people and they think they can get there. Then they get disappointed when they don't get those kind of gains. So it's one of those things, but it's always been there. I thought Arnold was natural when I was a kid.
Right,
like
me too.
Because
And
he'd say it.
regardless,
I'm
the
natural.
gains are not across the board equally.
Yeah, so, but I didn't see anything wrong with that. Here's why. At the time, when I thought Arnold was natural, I thought I just needed to train harder.
Right.
Like, I'm not training hard enough, I'm not big enough, right? So I think that's a double-edged sword, but the kids are a problem. Like, I own gyms, and I see what these kids are doing. These kids are blasting cycles at 16, 17 years old. So there is definitely, where there's positives, we're talking about the positives, negatives, there are definitely negatives to having a steroid culture.
Like, I think that if anyone works hard to become, like, say, as big as Josh, and then someday they just never get there, they're not gonna, like, just off themselves. Like, I don't think the depression or, like, the emotional effect from that is gonna be enough versus saying to this person from the very beginning, you will never get there, you might as well not try, unless you take steroids.
Yeah. Right. I think the big problem in general is just the idea of comparing yourself to somebody, first of all. That is a whole subject for another time. But outside of that, I think the whole unrealistic idea behind being natural and achieving a physique that is somewhat steroid-esque is, I don't agree with that, because the fact of the matter is, I don't care who doesn't believe me, I've never touched an enhancement, steroid, PED, whatever you want to call it, and I've been training for 14 years, almost half my life. The fact of the reality is, it is very real. I know genetics play a huge role in it, and not everyone is genetically gifted or things like that, but the fact of the matter is there are natural phenomenal people out there, phenoms, and their physiques look incredible. I believe Simeon Panda's natural. I believe Ulysses Jr. is natural. I believe Addie Ray is natural. All these guys who are literally magnificent in their size and stature. And it's just a fact, it's a matter of the natural community is not as big as it should be, in my opinion, in that we're not causing these freaks of nature naturally to come forward and to give the natural community a new standard. And so that unrealistic thing and like the standards, I think natural community in bodybuilding has a huge standard that is just not stressed enough. And that's why it's considered down here.
Probably.
As much as I love them and everything, it's just the natty or nots when you do them, when you create a video like that, it pops off.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons for this skewing.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
Sharing good for my posture.
Shizzy's natural, I blast gear, and Shizzy looks way better than me. So it's like, I don't see where the false standard is within the steroid users. Like, you can push the limit and look like Shizzy.
It's a good time to interject, which I found amusing, but I also kind of had the same thought, is a lot of the people on staff here, they thought you guys were the enhanced group of individuals, which is kind of, I mean, so I guess.
The moment I knew Josh was going on, I had to wear an oversized.
Yeah, so I think, I guess the question I have is then follow up to that, just to kind of keep it within this whole argument, is like, how do you guys feel, especially on the enhanced side, like with the staff thinking that was like they were actually the enhanced side?
That's a really good question.
I think because you can't, what's it, an outlier doesn't it make an exception, a rule or something? Like, these guys are outliers, bro. These dudes aren't walking around, like, you know.
Yeah.
The reason why, no, it's the truth.
Plus,
bro, the reason why you're so popping and the reason why you guys have social media clout is because you look so good.
when you look at Sean naturally, and he steps on stage, or you look at Josh when he steps on the Muscle Mania stage, versus if you look at me, or maybe you when you competed on the pro stage, there's a vastly different look that we have.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you something. You guys know, everyone who knows me personally knows that I'm always talking about what I'm thinking. I'm never holding anything back, and I've been saying I'm curious about gear because of all the accusations that I get. You're not natural, you're not natural. Oh, but what if?
Yep.
So what that makes me want to do is do it and shut everybody up, shut the whole place down, and then all of a sudden, that was right. He was right. And now you get the same feeling. You had it too, right?
Yeah, and I think
And that's why I wanted to know. I was curious if you would take that back. If you would take that decision back.
I think that's a hard thing for me to say, but honestly, I would just say no because my life now is revolves around this as my career.
And so I want to say the gym crafts us like we're swords, bro. Like a man goes in the gym, you go in there cocky, the weight humbles you. You leave different. And a kid who's 16, 17 blasting gear, he's gonna learn the ways of the weights, bro. It teaches men something. I genuinely believe that if they just need a little bit more education, a little more love, bro, keep it real, they just need some love.
I don't think they need gear, they need training.
They need training and education.
I mean, they need weights, they need to do hard stuff.
Right.
Kids are soft.
And these phone sets and stuff, like they're not really in the gym. That's another thing.
Phone sets, that's funny. Straight up.
No, I'm with you. I think kids need to do hard things. They need to face adversity, and that's what the weights give them. That's what we do at my facility, right? But you don't need gear to get that. Like, I trained for 27 years completely natural, and I loved it. It was great. Nothing changed. Nothing really changed. I just got amplified results. But like, there's the active weights do not require steroids. Nothing's worse than a steroid lifter, where you need to be on gear to train hard. If you're not training hard without gear, you're gonna be a shitty steroid user.
Bodybuilding has improved my sex life. Would the agreeers please step forward?
Fire.
Yeah, so I'll just say bodybuilding in general or just getting in fitness, like what I do for a living is I teach younger men how to be more confident and talk to women. Without bodybuilding, that would have never happened. So before bodybuilding, I think I've had sex with 1 or 2 girls. It's a whole lot more now.
One key point we need to address is the confidence that we build as we continue to better ourselves in the gym through bodybuilding. Before I got into fitness in general, I was small. I was the pushover, I was the small fry, and I got picked on for it. So I finally reached that rock bottom to the point where I decided I wanted to make a change, and I got into training. And before that, and for a long time, I was just very shy. Ladies would talk to me, but I would not give them any kind of push back at all. I had no game, no kind of confidence in myself. I mean, because I had the dark clouds over me all the time, just people making me feel like I'm very small, and I was. And I finally came out of that. I began to feel a lot better about myself. And I'm to the point right now where my confidence cannot be shaken. I don't care who it is. You cannot convince me that I'm not the guy. And I think that radiates in my ability to interact with ladies and get to that point.
You are the guy.
No,
The literal guy.
I think we all voted him the guy.
He's the guy. Anybody else?
Well, the interesting thing is when I was younger, same thing. I have a similar story. I'm from Romania. So when I moved to the U.S., I was picked on a lot. I was a little scrawny kid. So going to the gym is what gave me the confidence, made me feel better. The women looked at me much different, like, okay, this guy's the alpha male, not the
They catch that
little,
aura.
right, not the little scrawny kid that can't speak English. So, and what I didn't live in LA, where LA, it's okay if you can speak different languages, right? I lived in a smaller town in Michigan, so a lot of the guys were like pounding on me, they're the alpha guys. Once I started lifting and I started getting, stronger, all of a sudden I stood stronger,
I think there are some very few cases where bodybuilding can hurt your sex life. I think some of you guys can think of some cases. Like say that you get way too stage lean or you've been way too stage lean for too long and that affects your hormones.
This might be a good point to bring over the disagreeers because obviously
I forgot
they're disagreeers. Let's step forward because we'd love to hear before we start to maybe get into the potential negatives. I'd love to hear from them.
So I disagreed because when I was at my peak physique doing physique shows, about 5-6%, shredded about 190, honestly, the most attention I actually got from other guys like, hey man, how I get like you and all this, because I heard your story, talked about like overcoming bullying and stuff, and I guess maybe it's biased for me. I was 6 foot 180 going into high school. I was playing varsity, so that was never a thing for me. So getting bigger or more jacked never really played into my confidence per se.
I was skinny exactly like Joshua when I first started, and it was just 3 years ago. So I saw the transformation really fast, and I've seen the confidence boost. I've seen the success I was able to get just from being more disciplined. I wouldn't say it's just because of the physique. Just going to the gym, actually training hard, she taught me like discipline and actually being able to stick to something. And I've definitely seen what you guys said when it comes to like women and stuff. The reason why I didn't step forward is just because I'm religious. So when it comes to like actually doing the act, I don't really do it, but I've definitely seen the benefits of being in shape and actually building the physique.
Hey, respect.
Dude, respect.
Respect.
Thank you, man. But yeah, that's mainly why I didn't step forward.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, how do you do that? Like,
What do you mean?
like how do you stay pure?
Honestly, it's just a matter of, well, if you haven't done it before, I don't think it's gonna be hard to not do it. Same with like going back to steroids and stuff. If you haven't done them before, you're not gonna be addicted to actually doing it.
sure.
So I feel like it's pretty much the same thing. I've never actually done it, so I don't really see the point of.
So what are the benefits you'd say that maybe you have on others? Is it, you think, emotionally?
I would say probably. I wouldn't be able to tell you, to be honest. I haven't done it before, but I'd say I wouldn't be able to answer, to be honest, bro.
But it just doesn't look like it's worth your time.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm really, probably more focused on what I'm doing. I feel like the only reason I've only been doing this, like I said, 3 years. I've been posting content just for a year now, and I'm a lot more disciplined, I would say, than others. And I'm not talking about like anyone here, but just maybe because of the fact that I don't have that distraction. I'm just on my own thing.
What religion do you practice? If you don't mind?
Islam.
Islam.
There is no such thing as too much muscle.
I think there's no such thing as too much muscle.
There we go.
I mean, look at you. This is awesome. That's like the most muscle you could get as a human being, pretty much. Like, how much you weigh right now?
280.
Yeah, dude, there's nobody bigger than this. And do you feel like you have too much muscle? Like, that's the biggest. This is the biggest there is. Unless it's like 0.00001. Like, to the world, this is the biggest.
It's a little different though, because my height being 6'1". I mean, I think there's way bigger guys in terms of like mass.
Yeah, like
height.
Nick Walker, but if you, like, first of all, Nick Walker's alive. He's super rich and successful because he has that much muscle, and he seems like he's probably pretty happy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason I stepped forward is because I'm pretty sure you're training really hard. I'm not sure, I don't think you're like holding yourself, at 80% not to get too big. I think you're training to fail, you're pushing yourself hard enough. So I don't think, even if you wanted to get too much muscle, you wouldn't be able to. So in my opinion, there's no such thing as too much muscle. You know, I train really hard every single day, especially naturally. You're not going to be able to get anywhere close to you. You know, so I don't think there's anything as too much muscle.
So you're talking more from like a physiological or health perspective, like it's almost an impossibility to get like too much muscle to be like disadvantageous for your health. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
exactly. Like I have clients coming up to me and they tell me I don't want it to be too big. And trust me, you know, I've been trying to get too big for years now. So I haven't been doing it for a while, of course, but like it's really hard to get there. So I wouldn't say like there's anything as too much muscle, yeah.
I'll chime in here. That clarified it.
Yeah.
So, physiologically attainable, yeah, I guess there is no such thing. I mean, but if you're looking at the overall health ramifications of it, yeah, there is such thing, because your body still has to pump to that. So from a physiologically attainable standpoint, like you trying to get as big as possible, yeah, keep trying to get bigger. You're not going to get too big. However, will that distort your look? Will that distort that beautiful waist of yours? Will that distort your size? So yeah, I guess we could say there's not too much muscle. There's no way to get too much muscle, physiologically speaking. But let's say they unlock a myostatin gene. Say we're able to inhibit that. You can just keep growing like those damn cows. There comes a point when it's absurd, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it depends on the nuance of that question. Physiologically speaking, I try to get bigger every day. Do you try to get bigger every day? Everybody back there tries to get bigger every day. I'm 44. I've been doing this for over 30 years. This is all I got. So physiologic, inhibitions in there, yeah, there's no such thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like it's not even possible to get there, so it's not an issue, yeah.
How many times do people grab your arms in public?
Probably too many.
I was walking off the plane. The flight attendant just broke me.
It's weird.
That's awesome.
It's crazy how people think that's like just completely.
But if I went and grabbed a woman's, I'd be arrested. She didn't grab my balls, but I mean, you get my point.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it is awesome. You stand out. And let's be honest, everyone here stands out, and we like it.
Can the discreeters please come forward?
Toji today.
Let's go. First one. Or actually, no. There's been a few.
We've been.
Yeah, there's a lot actually.
I want to go off of what Mark just said about physiologically. So let's talk about like body's homeostasis, always trying to find balance. And now that we live in a modern world where we got grocery stores, TV, social media, I use the term, I say there's no more saber-toothed tigers. So we don't have to worry about the everyday dangers. My man right here, Sean, he said survival of the fittest. Once upon a time, there was a limit to how much muscle you need because muscle takes energy to exist, right? So it's like, I guess to an extent, someone mentioned preference. I think you mentioned preference. So it's like, yeah, there's a preference, but I think there's a level where, am I just doing this because I want to get bigger versus like, do I need to get bigger? Because everyone here is above, I would say 98% of the world, not even country, world, to some degree, whether it's strength, look, aesthetic. But do you need more?
The reason I disagree with them is I'm just taking this as literally that statement alone. In that statement, there is no reference to what you guys were stating, right? That statement alone, in the world, can you have too much muscle? Yes, you can. It can be really unhealthy.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's
Agreed.
I would even just say,
yeah.
I would even just say, like, obviously not to throw a stab at you, Eric, but 9 out of 10 people will probably say you have too much muscle. You know what I mean? And so, like, a lot of people say to me, I have too much muscle, and I don't even think I'm like that big. But I know to an extent, I am obviously much larger than the average person. So in that aspect, yeah, I can get down with that. I think you could have too much. Like, you're huge, dude. You look like an action figure. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of got into bodybuilding and steroids, I guess you could say, knowing I would never really look like that, so that I kind of X'd that out. But like, yeah, I don't know. I can 100% agree with that.
Like for me, I think like your size would be the goal for me. Like if I would have shoulders and traps and shit like that. But like, you gotta be honest, like how much muscle you put on, like the health risks that you took to get there, and to be able to put on more. Because you said, is there such thing as like too much muscle? If you want to put on more muscle, all that shit you're gonna have to do is just, you know it's gonna be a lot more damage to your body. So I do believe that, yeah, there is such thing as like too much muscle when it comes to the health side.
Absolutely.
I kind of want to side with Niall here. As far as like, generally, can there be such thing as too much muscle? Yes. And I'll use Larry Wheels, who's a friend of mine, as an example, who I'm sure the majority of you here know Larry Wheels. And I'm saying this because he's already spoken on this to the public. It's not like I'm, breaching privacy. But he was once so big to the point where he was in the mall, going up stairs. I can't remember how many, like how big the flight of stairs was, but he got to the top and he had to rest for a second and recollect his breath because he was out of breath. And then there are times when it just becomes to the point where you can no longer function as a basic human being. Too much muscle to the point where you can't even wipe yourself after going to the toilet.
Yeah.
There's a point where it's too much and you can't be comfortable in the way you, like how big you are.
Yeah. I think all the things you said in the latter half are definitely true for sure. In terms of him walking up the stairs and being out of breath, there are a lot of people that can get big and you just work on your cardiovascular health. There's a lot of things that you can do to work on your cardiovascular
Well, yeah,
health.
I mean, we're all saying you feel you're too big to wipe your own ass. I'm saying Eric is the biggest and he says he feels great. How are we gonna put words in some, like, we've
can
never
wipe your own
felt
ass.
like, we don't know what it's like to be that
But
big.
if I installed in every bathroom in my house, no, I can't. Thank God. I think some of it does lend itself to, like I said, being a taller guy. But I think even would consider myself an intelligent human to know the fact that, like, this size is not healthy long term. Like, there is a plan. 35, start downsizing to like closer to 240. Probably by 40, closer to like 220, 215. Probably do the whole like Greg Doucette version of just doing more like aerobic type activity. The unfortunate circumstance is like my brand has grown exponentially based on the size. And believe me or not, most people don't, like, on way less gear than most people would assume that I'm taking, just because genetic predisposition is a huge thing. And it's not just based on, like just not on how you train, but how you respond to whatever you're taking, whatever you're putting in your body, you're going to respond to differently. So I just happen to be somebody that takes less and gets more out of it. Anybody that knows me too or has trained with me knows I train kind of like a psychopath in terms of like the intensity or the length of my sets. So, and I do take a lot of pride in that. And I think that's kind of like, now it's hard for me because, like, based on the blood work, based on going and doing a full like echocardiogram, EKG, everything's perfect. So it's like, there's not much for me to be like, oh, like I'm gonna die tomorrow if I don't like downsize. So, and plus the brand is built off that. But I do want to take myself out of this. I am the moderator. But to bring it back down to baseline, I think if we were to say, like, I think there's an agreement that there's an amount of muscle from a health perspective that becomes disadvantageous from just for pure health reasons, correct?
Agreed.
Yeah, but with
I'm saying health and
everything,
look.
too much water, so it's like, is that really relevant to this? Because there's too much of everything.
So I think the more interesting part of the conversation, since I think across the board, we pretty much agree on that, from a just communal kind of aesthetic to the eye, let's go to that part of it, because I think that's the more interesting conversation of, like, is there too much muscle from like an aesthetics perspective? Because I think personally for me, like, yes, I think there is, and I mean, maybe I would even fall into that. So I'm very interested in just, if we eliminate the health perspective, is like too much muscle from an aesthetics perspective can be problematic.
Yes. Based upon, what do you mean by problematic though?
I would say maybe like less attractive.
For sure. And there are things that I can pick at right now generally. Bigger guys tend to have they can't even put their arms down, and they look like the thumbs from Spy Kids. Not like nothing negative against them, but they're built to the point where they don't look like they can walk around and be like, they can't do a high jump, they can't quickly take off, they can't perform. And that to me is like very unappealing. A blocky waist, unappealing. Too much muscle to where they can't put their arms down, unappealing. Where they can no longer walk straight and they have to walk around their big inner thighs. You're not like that. I'm not shooting shots at you right now, but there are guys who are much bigger than you and just much bigger in general on the Olympia stage in bodybuilding who, exhibit these traits.
Yeah, it's just not aesthetic to you.
Yeah, everyone has a different type for sure, but the more, I think, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this correctly because I might just butcher this, but the more, like, the average person there's a greater percentage of people attracted to the average, if that makes sense. So the more that we veer from the average, the more that we are extreme, the smaller the percentage of people that we're attractive to.
Do you guys agree with that?
Not necessarily.
Do you think we're less?
What is
do you
average?
think we're less attracted to the
Versus, is
the
that
most
based off your
attractive
experience?
supermodels?
So like, I don't remember like the reason why it's hard for me to say this is because I don't remember the exact study, but there was a study pertaining to how, like, for example, someone around, say, a 12% body fat percentage tended to be more attractive to people closer to their body fat percentage. It's just an example.
Maybe you just feel more intimidated by that person. That's somebody like him. You may
Kind of
be
like
more
we like
intimidated
to be around people that we're alike. And if it's your partner, I'm sure you would want to have some similarities with them. For
sure,
It's kind of true with appearance as well.
Natural bodybuilding is the future.
The way the world has viewed bodybuilding together as a whole, it's been going on for I don't know how long. I'm not going to say I know exactly when bodybuilding started, but it's gotten to the point where it is now, and we have all these extreme athletes by the way they look, and I think the world has gotten a glimpse of what the pinnacle looks like, what the peak looks like, and I think it's becoming, maybe not now, but it'll get to a point where it starts to die down. It'll become stale because there's like nothing really more to expect, especially with C-Bum having just retired. I don't think there's a lot of excitement as much as there was in the past in the golden era. And as a matter of fact, I just watched Pumping Iron like 3 days ago. And I was witnessing the crowd in the movie. There were children, ladies, adults going to these shows who had no idea what bodybuilding was before having gone to the show. So with that being said, there was excitement and there was like a pull there. And there's no longer that pull. The crowd is not giving standing ovations, clapping, cheering, having a good time. They know what to expect. They come to see what they know will be there, and then they leave. But there's no longer a general pulling theme to the bodybuilding world that I feel like natural bodybuilding, which in my opinion is, like I said earlier, the only real form of bodybuilding can bring. Natural bodybuilding and natural bodybuilders are underestimated. And the fact that myself and bodybuilders like Shizzy and bodybuilders like Simeon Panda, who I believe to be natural, exist, I think the more emphasis we put onto the natural side of the sport, and with that being said, I know IFBB is now having natural qualifiers and they're doing so many more natural shows, so there's definitely a push for it. Is there as much of a push as I believe there should be? No, not yet. But I think that the recognition is coming out and it's there now, and that's happening for a reason. So I feel as though once more emphasis is put there, that will cause, like I said, more natural phenoms to come forward and really bring that kind of dynamic entry to the sport, which will catapult it into the limelight.
I hope so. Let's let the disagreeers come forward.
There's no bigger proponent of naturals having their own organization as me. There's no one bigger. We just need the right person to do it. The right person to do it, that's the Manions and Weinbergers. They've done it with enhanced bodybuilding. I think naturals should have their own playing field. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
That naturals should have their own lane, their own ballpark. Okay? But to think that it's ever going to be and I hope it is, right? That would be great. Everybody eats, right? I just don't think there's the means nor the viewership to do it right now.
I have to have faith in it. I will say not right now.
Yes. I'm going to say that too.
I think there is always the potential. Like there's heads like you guys who I think are making natural bodybuilding pretty dope. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously it's going to be hard, but I think you can always just fight for it, try to be a good representation, and maybe it'll help.
Agreed.
I mean, realistically, there's no way. Like, you can't go from watching freaks at 280. The only way it would happen is if somebody that was natural beat all of the enhanced people. Because,
Absolutely,
like, there's no way you're just gonna step down your standard.
But what if
you guys are thinking so micro?
then no
Like,
one
we
would
need these
fuck.
organizations to play this game. If you look at like the macroeconomic for the whole thing, you want to see bigger, you want to see freakier, and people are always going to gravitate towards more aggressive.
And then if that natural beats everyone, then no one would believe him.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword again.
Yeah.
You know, you get it worse than anybody, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not anybody, but pretty bad.
Yeah.
These three right here. 1, 2, 3 down the line. I mean, you're gonna get it way worse down there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go hate comment as soon as we're done here.
Love to see it. But yeah, I totally agree with Doji. Like, there's absolutely no reason to actually watch something that's, I wouldn't say like less good, because, you know, of course it's less impressive. Just, you know, everybody usually like out, you know, he mentioned baseball, basketball, everything keeps going up. And I feel like as humans, you know, we always want to keep going up. That's the way it is. So even if there was a way to actually make it work, you know, natural shows, tested everything, there's not going to be the viewership for it, because there's the Olympia level athletes which are going to continue getting better.
Have you guys heard of the enhanced games?
Yes.
What do you think about it?
It's basically the Olympics with steroids.
Oh, I did hear about that. That came out recently.
Yeah, it's the problem is you're not going to get top tier Olympians, so they're still going to get shitty times. It's just basically a bunch of dad bods, with drugs, running.
I would probably kill it.
That's great.
Well, I will go back
Win
to
the triathlon match.
he was just making. As humans, we all want like the wow factor. We want to be astonished, feel astonished, and I think that's going to be the thing continuing to drive people toward the regular Olympia itself. But then again, at the same time, I have to come back to the point of the natural phenomena that are out there, and that they're just like we don't have the platform to really highlight.
Yeah,
that.
but the best natty ever looks so much worse than C-Bomb.
Okay, but would you pay to see or like want to see, like say like me and Josh, like just go head to head, who's fucking better?
Not versus C-Bum and Dude, though.
Yeah.
That's true though.
Yes.
I mean, great, yeah, okay.
It's kind of like the
I'll pay for that though.
the WNBA.
I'd watch it.
You guys are not. Yeah, right. I
it.
just wouldn't choose it over.
But like, there's people out there bigger than us though, that are natural too.
But
Yeah.
they're
I
not
think
bigger than C-Bum.
you're
That's the
sleeping.
main reason. Like, they can get to a next level.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
absolutely, you can get amazing to an amazing level, but it's
You don't
never
know
gonna
what
be-
we pull out there, man.
I think
This might be kind of a hot take, but I think shit that's dangerous and shit that's risky, right? Isn't that like a level of masculinity or something, or like a micro masculinity, right? Like I think
100%.
that shit also attracts people.
Yes.
And bodybuilding is a fucking dangerous sport, and I think that's one of the reasons too why, like, you look at Chris Bumstead, for example, versus natural. Aside from like the look of the physique, that's some hard shit that he does.
Yeah.
Like blood work twice or 2 times a week. How many? I mean, the fact that he's like at risk of whatever the fuck he's at risk for, and he has a family and he cares about his daughter, and like, I don't know, it's pretty fucking intense. So.
Okay, we're gonna do something a little different, a little fun now. You guys are gonna come forward and write on this piece of paper who you think has the best physique here, and you can put your own name as well. So please come on up and write down who you think has the best physique in the room.
Oh damn, one of the natty dudes is gonna win. This is gonna make us look bad, bro. This is.
I want to put Shizzy, but
Everybody step forward.
Don't sit in that chair. You're about to get crushed.
You want to sit next to him?
So I'm putting so much,
Karsyn
so I'm putting so much weight on my
You
feet.
can get crushed.
All right, so just got curious, who do you guys think won? If you had to guess.
Josh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Josh. So I voted for.
Josh was in fact the winner, so I just love to hear your guys' thoughts on. Obviously, coming from the natural side, you might be probably surprised coming from a group of both natural and enhanced guys that the natural athlete was actually the most preferred physique. What do you guys think about that? Or is there any like thoughts or?
I think it's because he's natural.
Well,
I think it's very different. Like you were saying with contest prep and stuff like now, I've seen you look absolutely like crazy. I've seen your videos like I'm like, what the f? So like I don't necessarily know if you like, you know what I mean? You guys will have to be side by side, stage lean, like whatever.
Yeah, if you're on stage, like,
Yeah.
I'm an IFBB pro. I'd love to see that.
Right, like
That'd be great.
he's
And I'm
IFBB
also
pro,
on
so
stage
who's to
at
say who's
220
better?
pounds or 212 in the 212s, so I'm gonna look bigger. You can't. So I voted for him over me. I could have voted for myself because that's narcissistic as. And also because he's younger, he has a better look.
Yeah, I would also touch on too, like, nothing against you, Josh, obviously, but like, I'd probably rather want to look like Sean or Shane, be taller and have that like look, like I don't know personally, but physique-wise, I would go with yours. Yeah,
It's hard to. Everybody's
So
like,
it's
I
so
don't even know how he
it's
looks.
such a- yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, he looks great.
Yeah, now it looks
I have
crazy.
no idea.
Yeah.
All I see is clothes. I told him to get naked. He wouldn't.
I used to see your videos in SD gyms. I remember seeing your videos.
Really quick, though, I think there's an interesting point to be made here. Like, across the board, the natural athletes are showing a lot more skin than the enhanced, and I see this all the time. You know, like the whole cover up as much as possible. Do you think that's due to the fact that when you do become enhanced, there is like this unrealistic expectation of yourself or the way you look, or you always feel like you look smaller, you always compare yourself to your stage look, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else's stage look, the pinnacle of the sport, because now you've broached the fact that you're enhanced. There's nothing holding you back from being that top person, because you know, like for them, they could say they always have that to hang on, right? They're natural. They can never look like Chris Bumstead. Do you think that is part of that whole like, you know, I can't be, you know, I like to cover up a little more, oversized, like, you know, like what do you think lends itself to that? Because I see a lot more natural guys like this, like dressing more like this, and more enhanced guys, big hoodies, big oversized, big joggers. They don't show off your legs at all.
I came on here thinking like, damn, if I wear a tank top and dude looks better than me, I'm gonna get punked on the thing. You know what I mean? But like you were saying too, wearing oversized stuff, like I always wanted to be big in a sweatshirt. So once I finally got that, bro, I started wearing huge clothes where it's like, and it's also the style now.
I used to wear this is just my experience. I used to wear super tight stuff when I was like in high school and in college, and that's also when I was natural. Not that it's correlated, but I mean, I just like wearing bigger stuff because it's, I don't know, I feel like it's comfortable and it looks better sometimes. But I do feel like there is still the possibility that some people that are enhanced, if they do compete, like you're seeing yourself in two different extremes, and that's what bodybuilders do. They do extremes. So they'll be on one end of the extreme where they're hitting a high calorie surplus in an off season. You gain a lot of body fat percentage, and the compounds you are on are not dryers. They're not going to make you look crisp. Then on the other side, you go into peak week. You're prepping for a show. Your proportions are there. You got a smaller waist. Everything's showing, and then you're on some DHT-derived anabolics, and that shit's making you look dry and striated. And I mean, like, it's kind of like maybe they feel less confident to show their body in their off season, or maybe they also just like, I feel like Chris Bumstead kind of likes to just like hide it and then like surprise everybody. So I don't know.
Yeah, so Shizzy actually ended up in second, who was also a natural athlete here. So I think, yeah, it kind of just runs along those same lines. But do you guys want to speak to the fact that, you know, maybe do you think that the biggest part of that is the genetic component of, like, you can't really out-steroid a bad physique, and you can't, you know, cheat your way into, you know, looking like Shizzy?
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
sorry.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
You would have won if you're in the vote and you're on steroids. So it's kind of, you know what I mean?
I don't. That's
Well, I guess but asking the crowd, we would have all voted for Eric 100% if we were allowed to.
No,
Maybe
Josh,
not.
you wouldn't have.
I don't wanna speak
I
for
mean,
this.
it's all everyone's preference, right?
I think it's preferential as well.
I mean, you look great. You look amazing.
Yeah, I'm so,
You voted for yourself?
I did, as a matter of fact.
I
I
love
voted
that.
for myself.
Yeah, no, I wear that. I would have done the same
Wear
shit.
that on my sleeve.
I wouldn't have fucking voted for any of you.
Proud of myself.
Would have voted for
No,
my
but
ass. Yeah.
In reality, I mean, I prefer a more, you know, like classic aesthetic physique, slimmer waist, just like more. Not that you're not proportionate, but just like different proportions that are just adhered to what I envision to be the ideal physique, or one that is more astounding than someone simply bigger.
First and foremost, I want to thank you guys for being such great panelist guests. I think we did find a lot of middle ground within this community. I think the biggest thing, the takeaway is like, get active, get fit, if the gym is that for you, I think that's a great, first outlet to build strength, build a community. I mean, everybody, even you can see here, like it's a very divisive line, but you see how much it came together. And I think the common ground is literally like getting active, bettering yourself, finding something that you enjoy that isn't staring at a screen. I think we could all kind of agree on that, I would say. And I hope that we all can become close friends after this all ends. But thank you guys again. Let's get out of here. Get food.
Let's do it.